this holding the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance, I don't know what the Indian decision makers had in mind, but it has been taken as a very, very serious thing in Pakistan. The reliance of the Pakistani lives and agriculture on it. So it is being looked at in a way that if this thing had existed in the minds of the Indian policymakers for some time, and I know it has existed in the minds of the Indian policymakers for quite some time.
Actually, twice resolutions were passed to do it.
Yes,
Only
yes.
now they have done it. Yeah, exactly.
Dr. Saab, even on individual level, I have talked to the Indian journalists, and even before this thing happened, they were talking about it, that we can do this, we can do that. So it was somewhere there. So now there is a growing feeling that this matter needs to be settled once and for all. I don't know how it can be achieved, but there is a feeling that because now it has entered the mainstream discussion, it is out in the open, so this must be settled. It has gone in Pakistani discourse at the moment. It is beyond the question of terrorism. What was happening in Kashmir and what was happening in KP and Balochistan, it is beyond that now. It is an existential matter. You understand? When the existential threat arises, then you don't care about the consequences. Taqsim-e-Hind 1947. The bloody partition of Punjab, तनाज़ कश्मीर 1965 की पाक भारत जंग, सानियाए मशरकी पाकिस्तान और भारत का किरदार, खालिस्तान मूवमेंट और ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार, अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी का दौरा लाहौर और कारगिल जंग, इंडियन पार्लियामेंट पे हमले, मुंबई हमले, बालाकोट पे भारतीय हमला, कलभूषण यादव और बलोचिस्तान, तनाज़ात और इल्ज़ामात में अमन की तलाश. Watch Indo-Pak dialogue with Dr. Ishtiaq Ahmed and leading voices from India. Talking Politics on Federal Post. Assalamu alaikum, this is Hassan Zafar with Talking Politics, special episode Indo-Pak Dialogue. We have Mr. Stanley Fernandez from India and Dr. Ishtiaq Ahmed from Stockholm, and myself, I am Hassan Zafar from Lahore. Thank you very much, Dr. Saab, for your effort in bringing this panel together from India and Pakistan, and especially in a time when tensions and emotions are rising on both sides after Pahalgam attacks. It's not a very easy time to talk about peace, but we remain committed to our effort to bring peace to this region despite everything else. Mr. Stanley Fernandez is the founder member, Citizens for the Constitution in Mumbai. He is also the founder member of Interreligious Solidarity Council in Mumbai. And that is what a very brief introduction about Stanley Fernandez. Dr. Ishtiaq Ahmed Saab, would you like to add something to this introduction?
Well, I met Stanley Sahab in 2023 when I was in Mumbai, and it was at the office of the Society for the Study of Society and Secularism, founded by Asghar
Mr.
Asghar Ali engineer, who was a scholar of Islam, and I knew him since a long time. And Fernandez and I became friends. We have been in touch ever since. And I think living in Mumbai, working on inter-community, sort of inter-religious dialogue, I think is a very, very important role that one can play in society. And we will learn from Stanley Fernandez his experience. And as a Christian, from India, this is a special occasion because in the past we have not had anyone with such a background. So every background brings its own perspective on things. And Stanley ji, please, the floor is yours, and you have 1 hour to tell us whatever you want to.
Please go ahead.
Now, if you can elaborate on the topic that where we are going to go through,
Yeah.
maybe I would start since you said interreligious dialogue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just a little background on myself. See, we normally, when I started working in groups, we started with the constitution. So it was India centric and it was on the constitution. So wherever the government, you know, of the day tried to violate that, we were at the forefront of, questioning the government, questioning the authorities. Key, this does not fit in with the constitution of India. But then we realized over time, key just calling activists and calling people who already are in the know of everything will not help. If you want to really get people organized around knowing each other, knowing the constitution, knowing everything, then it has to be a interreligious, because India is unique in a way compared to many other countries. And I think one of the best, I would say, because we have so many religions, we have so many sub religions, sub castes. So even within the Hindu community, they will not know which are the other 10, caste, sub caste, except
Mhm.
whatever their parents have told them and they are dealt with. So it becomes very, very interesting. And each of these groups are totally different than what, you know, and that's how India has been up to now. It is only politics that have come in to destroy this thing. But even now, they could not destroy because fortunately for us, India is a democratic secular country and we have a constitution. So the country is run on the constitution. तो ये जो है वो अच्छा रहा है हमारे लिए. I think it's a blessing for us in India कि wherever there is an anomaly, people correct it through to the electoral route or through there are many other routes. The justice route also is one. There are other pressure routes in parliament. So a lot of routes are there to snub it. Like you must have heard, the farmers strike to withdraw the farmers bill. It took a long time. It took 1 year, but without anything else, it's the farmers only striking that withdrew. The government had to withdraw the bill. So even a smaller force of people compared to the entire India can work to change a lot of things here. Only thing you need to have focus and dedication and persistent to you have to be persistent to get it done. So far it has worked. What you see in India feels good actually. Now there have been earlier the Congress governments, there have been other governments which are more of a mix up basically. We call it a collaborative government. It has not really worked for India because everybody has their own ideology and finally they all broke up over time. And then came what we call now the rightists, the BJP. They also tried to break this mix of India in their own way. Earlier, if you say 10 years back, there was sports, no lynching, all those things happened. But then they also realized there's a lot of opposition to this. People in India are not attuned to what their thinking is necessarily. And honestly speaking, they have taken their own time to get a big section of the people to go their way or to think their way. Not necessarily lynching or anything, but there are various other ways that they were trapped. Nevertheless, what has happened is the governments have worked here to take control of all those factors which interconnect people. Like, for example, the media. Media let loose. I'm talking the print media and the television media at this point of time. So once you control that, you control the talk that's going around. You control the airwaves. But unfortunately, for governments also, there were other medias that came in, social media. So social media opened the entire pathway for people who did not have, control of the other parts of the media. And therefore, the truth, whatever that has to be communicated, truth or untruth, was communicated by anybody and everybody. And probably that has helped so far in India remaining stable, more or less stable. And therefore, today, when you look at India, I can say that the government also is very cunning. They always try to do things a different way. Today they are looking at minimizing the control of the minorities through legislation. So when there is law, you must have heard recently the WAF amendment that was done to control the properties, especially the Muslim properties. So there are a lot of legislation brought into education, and these are all slight changes that are being made, which is not noticeable by the general population unless it's raked up, by many. So India, if you really look at it, we have moved from protesting on the streets. When I was younger, I saw a lot of protests on the street for anything and everything, to protest online, to protest, non-street protest that is happening. So the farmers' agitation was something that was, it went back to the old style and it won. In fact, if you really look at it, the BJP came into power only after physical protest. The anti-corruption protest of Anna Hazare brought in the BJP government. That was the changing point. So in India, still the cities that we live in, like I am in Mumbai, we honestly speaking on a day-to-day basis is not affected by it. But over time, though all of India is becoming modern and it's becoming a city, the villages also are becoming a city. I don't know whether today's, what you call the culture mix that city sees, especially Bombay, is much more different than many parts of India actually. Here we don't get easily tagged away or guided by politicians. We all know more or less. The more educated you are, the more politicians have a way of doing things. But unfortunately, what I look at it in Bombay is earlier you used to live in buildings with common verandas, common. So that means you used to clash into your neighbors every time. Every part of the day you used to be there. एंड एक सद्भावना बोलते हैं हम हिंदी में उसको, एक टुगेदरनेस, एक गुडविल साथ में जो था, कल्चरली एक्सचेंज, फूड एक्सचेंज, सब एक्सचेंज होता था, इमोशनल एक्सचेंज. वो जो अभी है फ्लैट सिस्टम्स बन रहा है इंडिया में, पर्टिकुलरली यू मस्ट हैव सीन बॉम्बे स्काईलाइंस एंड ऑल. नाउ वी आर इन सच अ मेस in a nuclear family that we do not know who's our neighbor. तो इसमें क्या हो रहा है कि the reliance on false news is high. Means I don't know whether it's false or right, but the reliance on social media, and especially when it is paid social media or politicized social media, then there will be a trend that you get trapped in it. You don't know the truth from the lies at this point of time. So currently we are in the what you call the pathway of moving from joint family systems to already in the cities nuclear families, which is also politically creating an issue for the general population, as I just told you, in terms of propaganda that is there. And therefore, why I work with interreligious dialogue and the groups that I am in, I'm multiple. I have a big list. I gave a simple introduction because then it will keep our introductions very small. So the reason of working is we have to physically go and work with people. So we say one program we will keep it, say, at ISKCON, which is a Hindu organization. Another Hindu organization, Ramakrishna Mission. So we all go there to celebrate. We will keep it in Anjuman Islam, which is a Muslim org, or Institute of Culture, which is a Christian organization. So we keep it with Jains, we keep it with Parsis, we keep everybody. So what we are seeing is we are bringing back that togetherness, and we are bringing back, what is that culture of India which really is, and not what is in the WhatsApp and the Instagrams of the world. So the idea of our working is we work to bring people together. so that at least once you know each other, you do not get into this haphazard fights and all. In fact, now we have common agendas. Like, for example, if somebody is lynched or something wrong has happened, we, like, for example, even Pahalgam, when Pahalgam happened, we issued a notice to the press, we issued a notice to as Interreligious Solidarity Council, with everybody signing up, all faith.
I don't mean to interrupt you. How many people are part of your group? How many people do you have in
No,
your organization?
oh, that multiplies based on where you keep things. They see this is an outfit where people keep on joining. So we don't have what you call, we have a advisory group and a core group, and we have two conveners. Beyond that, everybody gets involved. Like, for example, I'm in the Catholic Church, so here we have what you call every church parish, as you know. Like आपके वहाँ mosque होगा, तो हर एक mosque यहाँ हमारा controlled, तो every parish हर area में जो एक church है, हर एक church में एक inter-religious dialogue cell है. So there is an inter-religious dialogue cell. ऐसा समझो हम रामकृष्ण मिशन में जाएगा तो रामकृष्ण मिशन में itself have about 150-200 people. So what is happening is we are merging all these other people with them. एक दूसरे से मुलाकात होगा, फिर मिलेंगे और ये programs हर महीना चलता रहता है. So continuously the idea is to form a big web of people who are interconnected. That means tomorrow if something wrong happens, the governments do wrong things, we are not going to get out and fight with each other. We are going to go to each other and ask, and sit in round tables and ask each other. We are not going to hit the street. The idea is to build up this type of a culture where people sit and talk to each other, rather than going through WhatsApp, and get, as you said, emotionally absolutely charged and then hit out at each other. That's what we are trying to avoid in building this type of things. So that is the work that we do, and my focus area today basically is the Interreligious Dialogue Commission. What I have not told you also is I am part of the core team of the Interreligious Dialogue Commission, which is of the Archdiocese of Bombay. That means our cardinal heads it. So I am part of that as well. Now he is in Rome because of the funeral, but I'm heading it for Bombay City. I'm with them. So we work so that overall what happens is we have a Bombay, which is, we are looking at Bombay at this point of time. We have a Bombay at least which is well integrated and maybe insulated to an extent from all the negativity that is passed on from all this so-called social media.
Yes.
Or the media.
I would like to share something with you, Dr. Saab, with your permission.
Yeah.
I had an opportunity of talking to the former Joint Secretary of Indian Foreign Service, Vivek Kaju, a few days ago. And he rightly pointed out that India is multi-religious society and Pakistan is not. We have a sizable Christian and Hindu community, but that is not, of course, a significant majority anywhere. And we have very cordial relationships amongst ourselves. But when I listen to people like you from India, I have a growing feeling, that this kind of interfaith harmony and interfaith dialogue is a political need in India, whereas that is perhaps not the case in Pakistan. Is that how you would like to compare the two countries?
No, I will not say that is the right way itself. What has happened is there was interreligious dialogue. But because in India, you always lived in a multicultural society, you did not feel the emphasis of so-called something called interreligious dialogue, though it is interreligious dialogue. So when we all grew up, I was just addressing a Eid Milan sort of program yesterday. And I told them, they were asking me, how do we take forward interreligious dialogue in this kind of situations? What is happening now? I said, interreligious dialogue is something in India you practice right from the birth. So we lived in common chals. In India, we have common chals, common buildings with common verandas. So I am one, my neighbor is Hindu, my other neighbor is a Parsi, the third neighbor is a Sikh, fourth neighbor. So we always grew up in an interreligious, society. Always. In fact, the trend of ghettoing yourself into your own community is a recent phenomenon. I'm saying compared to when I'm growing up, it's a recent phenomenon. Otherwise, you always in India, grew
Yeah.
up in the multicultural society. Let me also tell you, I'm talking from the point of view, I'm born and brought up in Bombay, Mumbai. So when you go to villages in Maharashtra, you will be shocked. They are so integrated into each other. You will never know a Muslim from a Hindu. He speaks as fluent Marathi because Marathi is a language. He speaks the language as fluently. You will think he is a Hindu, but he's not. He's a Muslim and he's a Muslim cleric. All I know. So I was shocked. So this is what it is in Maharashtra. So always you practice. You did not give it a name. Today,
Hmm.
unfortunately, when you're naming it, you're thinking about politics because something or the other is happening. And this politics we are talking about is between two countries, or only because a government is changed and the inclination, people's thinking is that this government may not be for Muslims or may not be for Christians, or it may be anti-Sikh. I don't know. So this is the way it is getting in. But if you ask me, no. Interreligious dialogue, I'll tell you, in the Archdiocese of Bombay, interreligious dialogue has completed 25 years. So it's way beyond when the governments were there and all. So we realized too much ahead of time that you needed interreligious dialogue. I
Dr.
mean, the
Sab, like to
Catholic Church, at least I'm talking about.
put a question, or should I have one? But I can wait if you want to ask some question.
No, you
No,
tell me.
I was just wondering that Bombay has always been a cosmopolitan city.
Yes.
People living together. Uh, and even now, when you visit Bombay, you can see this. At late at night, we went to have dinner at a Muslim shop with curry and lamb and all, and it was functioning perfectly. So, Bombay, in that sense, is an exception, I think. Or do you think all large cities have this characteristic?
No,
Because
all I think too. Sorry.
because in the UP there are reports. For example, the chief minister once recently said that the Taj Mahal cannot be India's uh, cannot represent Indian civilization. It has to be Hindu temple and so on. I think this is the big break from the way India was conceived, and it worked, I think, for a long, long time. So, don't you think this trend is upsetting the natural communal harmony which existed in many parts of India? And so there is a possibility that things will change for the worst.
Uh, Now, this is exactly what we're looking at over time. This is ideology. This is typically a political ideology. It
Hmm.
does not change history. Whatever you do, see, if you really look at it now, earlier there was no trend. If you look at it, there are a lot of films being made on historical people,
Hmm.
Hindus, Shivaji, a lot of people which have become hit.
Hmm.
That also speaks to you about people not socializing enough. Today, what has happened, like in the city in Bombay, I would give Bombay as an example. Uh, People are so engrossed. People come here to work, get work, and they are working. They work from morning to night. They are actually isolated. In the workplace, they don't talk too much of socializing is done. When they are at home, they are isolated in nature. This is typical of everybody. They are tired. They're with their family, and that's the end of it. So compared to earlier when there were no distractions, like when I was small, I had no distractions, no phones, no radio. I mean, radio was there, but no mobiles, no nothing. So I had to go out to play. I had to go out to the parks. I had to go everywhere. See, this structure is changing everywhere. This is a structure that is changing everywhere. Everything where development is taking place, there is a isolation. The same, I think I was just reading something about China. It was in depth. Same thing. If you really speak to people, that the same thing is happening there also. There are a lot of
Everywhere.
isolation
Everywhere.
that's happening in cities which are growing. People
Like,
are
for
busy with their
example,
work.
yeah,
Huh?
Stockholm, where I live, it's also isolation.
It
One
is
family
isolated.
lives there, and the next family doesn't have any connection. So it's
So
the way the modern lifestyle
yes,
is.
in fact, when
Yeah,
I came to Stockholm, everything was isolated until I came to the city center, where on the weekends there was music and dance going on.
hmm,
Hmm.
That's it.
yeah,
That's the way it was. So no, same thing. is happening in all the cities. Now cities are developing. So what is happening? When you mentioned Lucknow earlier, ये नहीं कि historically there's been fights going on. Hindu Muslim छोटा मोटा होता है. Nobody comes to know about all this. आज thanks to social media, even now मोहल्ला यूपी में एक लंबा सा मोहल्ला में कुछ हो जाता है. He has a phone. Everything becomes big issue. It's not a big issue. It's a local issue.
Stanley Saab,
Yeah.
I have a question. What are the most problematic areas that you have encountered in your interfaith dialogue among different communities? Okay, let me, if you allow me to be speak more candidly. For example, beef, eating beef is a problem with Hindus. Muslims eat beef, Christians eat beef, they have no problem with that. Can you identify more areas like that, not from the Hindu side, but from Christian and Muslim sides also, when it comes to the interfaith harmony that you are pursuing?
No, so these are issues which are broad-based in the media. When we physically meet, we discuss all these issues. So there are issues. It's not that there are no issues. Suppose if I go to a Jain place or Jains come to me, we know that they donate garlic, they donate onions. I'm just saying. So, but they have no objections. When we meet together, we have no objections with anybody.
Yeah.
You want to eat something, it's there for you. I give you fruit separately. Fine. See, I value religious as a human being. In interreligious dialogue, I need to value, understand and be understood. So I need to value them. I need to know why. अभी आप मुस्लिम को बोलेगा उधर पोक रखा हुआ है. I should know pork for them religiously is not good. But we don't say to anybody कि तुमने ये नहीं खाना है, वो नहीं खाना है, ये खाना नहीं है. बिल्कुल नहीं. I eat beef. I'm very clear. I eat beef. And some of my cousins through marriages are Hindus. So they have Hindu crowd. But we all were eating beef. So what I'm trying to say is, it may not be religious. Like today when I see, it is health reasons today. If reasons are given not to eat something, is more health from the educated youngsters. Otherwise,
people choose not to eat beef
who don't. No, others people, I'll tell you, I have friends from the Iyer community. Ayers are Brahmins. Okay. Now look at the culture. They are from Kerala, Tamil Nadu. They culturally they eat beef. If you know Kerala, you'll have beef in almost all the hotels. There are a lot of hotels which sell beef. It's openly sold on monitor.
Interesting.
आप देखे होंगे डॉक्टर साहब.
जी जी.
तो इसमें क्या होता है, यंग जनरेशन इज घर में नहीं बनता है, बाहर आके खा लेगा. होटल है, सब है, जहां मिलता आएगा. जब भी डॉक्टर साहब ने बोला था, व्हेन ही सेड कि हम मुस्लिम होटल में गया, एक्चुअली मुस्लिम होटल में आप जाओ रमजान के टाइम या और भी कोई भी टाइम में जाओ, सबसे ज्यादा खाने वाला हिंदू ही होगा. The majority population will be highest eating there. That's a fact. See, it's all hidden and eaten because at home there's a taboo. Because religiously you have been told कि बाबा ये है वो है. जब बाहर जाता है सब कुछ खाता है. हमारा एक फेमस है बॉम्बे में, एक फरीद सीख कबाब करके, ओनली बीफ. उसके वहां गर्दी देखे तो ऐसा लगेगा कि ये दुनिया का लास्ट स्टोर बचा हुआ है सीख कबाब का. नो, उसके बाद है ही नहीं कोई. आई मीन that's the way it is. And when you check who's eating, I asked someone in the friend, do you know what you're eating? I know. So that's how it is. Life is like that. And I'm looking at it. Politicians at some point of time in life have to give up on this common. आप ज्यादा देर fight नहीं कर सकते. Even the BJP cannot fight on this caste politics and this politician for long. It cannot get through with people. Finally, आप पूरे आपके इंडिया जैसा कोई रिप्रेजेंटेटिव नेशन नहीं है सब जगह, but it will never get through. In India, to at least I doubt, as long as progressive people are there in India, which is quite a lot. There is a silent lot which is progressive, but they're silent on politics because they said, I don't want to take part in this rubbish politics. Let me do by day to day. So in India, if you look, one of the ways of looking at it is, when you look at voting, your voting percentages in cities are between 45 to 50%. Then 50% are least bothered. बोलता है जो भी आना है, कोई भी गवर्नमेंट आना है, आई हैव टू कंटिन्यू माय थिंग, फर्क नहीं गिरेगा.
50% turnout in an election is a lot. It matters.
No, it is a lot. It is a lot, but it is also the other. That's one way to look at it. Second way to look at it is the other 50% are least bothered.
The glass
Because when I asked many of them, they said, "Dekho, whether this comes or that comes, for me, what I want to do, what I am doing, that is the most important."
The glass
So
is half full or half empty. You can put it both
that is
ways.
how we look at it. तो कौन देख रहा है? कौन देख रहा है उसको? अभी स्टैटिस्टिशियंस बैठा है इलेक्ट्रल कमीशन का, वो बोले अरे ओनली 50% वोटिंग, पॉलिटिकल बिग से 50% वोटिंग, बाकी बट अदर सिटीजन दे गो ऑन हॉलिडे. हमारे इंडिया में एटलीस्ट इन द सिटीज देयर इज अ बिग प्रॉब्लम.
वो क्रिकेट खेलने चल जाते हैं. एक और चीज,
हाँ, वो क्रिकेट भी खेलेंगे, जो भी करेंगे, बट वो चले जाएंगे. नहीं, दिस ऑल्सो स्पीक्स अबाउट वन थिंग. It also tells you something on the background. Ki in cities in particular, the life is so strenuous that whatever chance you get to get out with the family and enjoy yourself, even the election day plus 2 holidays aju baju mein, that is the way they look at it, and that's how they move. And that's a fact of life. The governments cannot. You have to think of different ways where you have online voting wherever you are, something like that. You have to think radically different if you want 100% people voting now.
डॉक्टर साहब जरा ये आप भी इस पे तबसरा कीजिए. इंडिया की इस वक्त जो मीडिया के बारे में मिस्टर सैनली मेंशन्ड इंडियन मीडिया. I don't know if we can call it mainstream anymore, but television, Indian television. What is the credibility of the news on Indian television screens?
Are you talking to me or to Stanley?
You can both give your observations.
Well, people who are distorting things, who are provoking people, I don't listen to them. I have my own choice of people who are decent. They are old friends. They are in the media since a long time and they have the courage to say what is true. So I don't listen to these people, but I agree with you. So much venom, so much, toxicity is to be found in some of these media people. So I just ignore them. As I keep on saying that, for example, I did a video today about a nuclear showdown in the subcontinent. Instead of understanding the figures I gave and all, I got a lot of flack saying that, Professor, you may keep on saying it, but we are determined now to strike. So I said, look, my duty is to inform you. And if you don't want to listen, it's up to you. But this is the truth. If we have a nuclear showdown between India and Pakistan, if Bill Clinton in 2002 calculated that 500 million Indians would be wiped out and Pakistan's 170 million, 150 million will be wiped out, 120 million will be wiped out. So I said, these are the figures. We have to keep that in mind. So the media is now controlled by people who don't want the truth to come forward, but there are good people in India.
50 million deaths.
It is from them that I get my news. Yeah.
Dr. Saab, 50 million deaths in a single strike. That's
in
the
a single strike, possibly. Yeah.
Yeah, depends on the capacity of the nuclear bomb.
Of the nuclear bomb, yeah. And what a thing.
Yeah.
After all these years, should we end up shooting nuclear bombs at each other? What nonsense is this? I think this has to be corrected. And that is why we need people like you, Stanley Saab, and we all trying to find what is sane and what is correct and what is just for everyone. Yeah.
Vikram,
Dr. Hassan, I would like to just comment on what you asked, Dr. Ahmed. In the interreligious groups that we meet, we exactly try to debate this out.
Ah,
अभी हम मीडिया के बारे में बात करते हैं. Fortunately for us in India, there's a very strong social media with the right people. Like for example, there's something called the print, the wire, the scroll. There are
जी जी
many
बिल्कुल
such,
बिल्कुल.
many such. And let me tell you why things will not work out for one type of people only through social media. Because if you see, that's the reason people now, even political parties, employ thousands and thousands of people just to distort information.
Exactly. That's the
That is
problem.
what
Yeah.
is happening because they know the power of social media.
Hmm.
Now, when you look at Instagram or Facebook or something, when you post something, or YouTube, there are people with lakhs of followers, and
I
that
know.
fellow who's there may not be even 12th pass.
That's correct.
But
I've
the
noticed.
वो कोई practical चीज there, he's putting something practical, which is of value to a lot of people seeing. They repeat again and again and again. So that means I don't need a PhD journalist or to really back look at it. The only thing, so now as Dr. Saab said, ki I personally do not watch any news at all. In my TV, I don't watch news, nothing. Whatever news I have from informed sources, Reuters or या type जो net में आता है. I don't want. I tell people. Yesterday I was talking to a group of 70 people. I told them, एक काम करो, जो अभी हो रहा है पहलगाम का. People are worried. ऐसे एक काम करो. You just read the printed news. Don't look at your Instagram, WhatsApp. Don't look at your television. And 3 days after that, you tell me how much tense you were when before versus after. Because I told them, behaviorally, you cannot manipulate the printed version. You can look at the big papers, read the news, and that's it. Whereas you can manipulate a lot of things on social media, on television.
That's true.
I can
That's
debate.
true.
I can. All these things can happen when you see movement, animation.
Hmm.
So मैं तो मेरा ग्रुप्स को बोलता है कि आप अवॉइड करो देखने का. अभी पहलगाम के केस में you know what has happened. We all know, the world knows what has happened. सब लोग अभी if you look at social media, you will think the war is just happening or it's going to happen in half an hour.
I know.
You know, even the government has not told you that, but they have already created war. Like a
Several
know.
things
like,
which are
huh.
not true. So, are you saying, Stanley Saab, that social media is making the war happen? Like it is putting a kind of pressure on the government, politically making the government so burdensome that
Yes,
even if it doesn't have to happen, it will happen. Is that
yes,
the
that is the negativity of social media, where too many people. Now we will also understand most of these people are talking are not briefed by governments. They're individual people somewhere in some place in India, Pakistan, wherever they are. How can they have resources to, as if the government is calling them and telling them, see, this is a secret, I'm telling you, nobody else. And every channel, if you see on social media, they'll say, ये किसी ने नहीं बताया होगा, हम बता रहे हैं आपको. It's all
yeah?
humbug. The day people learn कि when this thing happens, you have to rely only on this thing. See, it's not easy to have war. I'll give my thinking. It is not going to be easy. Even if India, Pakistan goes to war also, Pakistan has nothing to lose. India has everything to lose. If you ask me from my perspective. So we do, like if you if you have news, what is needed, which is not there today in this government, is some introspection on our side. Always first, it's me. Like I liked Omar Abdullah said when somebody asked him, statehood करेंगे कि नहीं JNK को, तो he said, with 28 people dead, I don't think I'll go for statehood. I take the responsibility. So he said, I am responsible. But I'm sorry to say, but my home minister and my prime minister did not say that. I am responsible for the people at this point of time, at least. Because the first question I will ask somebody when I look at it is, obviously, there's an intelligence failure. There's a gap in intelligence. If not a failure, there's a gap. Because we have been at loggerheads of Kashmir for 70 years. ये आज की बात नहीं है. 70 years. Or on top of that, when you abrogated 370, Article 370, there are a lot of people who are at anger on the other side. कुछ ना कुछ तो होना है, भले वो 5 हो 6 हो जो भी है, something will happen. And then because you are also carried away, you are also a human being, you get carried away कि lakhs of people are visiting Kashmir. तो आप security क्यों नहीं करा? There's inadequate security. When you especially know it's at the border, something may happen. You need only 1 or 2 people to fire this up. No, if the entire population of Pakistan does not come, or the population of Kashmir does not come to do this. So you need 1 or 2 to fire the negative. Negativity बहुत easy हो जाता है. So इसमें क्या हो गया कि I am saying there's inadequate security because you always have to keep security even when the going is good. Because कुछ resolve हुआ ही नहीं है. आप बोल रहे हैं ना कि हमने हाथ बटाया था वाजपेयी के टाइम, वाजपेयी had gone there, मोदी जाके प्लेन से उतर गया बर्थडे के लिए, आप मुशर्रफ भी आया था. ये होने के बावजूद we have not come to any really speaking friendly conclusion. If that is the case, then you have to be alert. It is your duty. I would like to just compare this with the Gaza thing 7th October में. सब अभी हम भी हाइप कर रहा था, सब हमारा सिक्योरिटी ग्रेट है, ये है वो है. इजराइल भी बोल रहा था ग्रेट है वो है. It is there also the same thing. There's a lapse of security. There's absolute lapse. So पहला वहां भी I don't think anybody accepted the fact it's my mistake. तो एक parallel चल रहा है. Nobody accepted it as it's my mistake. But unfortunately, what happens in everything that happens, the innocent suffer.
That's
what is happening is all the innocent is suffering.
The action of 2 individuals has put the lives of 1 billion people at stake.
Yes.
That's it.
That is the outcome
That's
of it.
That's it.
That's it. So where are we heading at the moment, Stanislav?
I think finally in the world, see today with too much confidence I can say for India, I always felt India is a bit different. Okay, with Pakistan, because of history, there will always be, because the government also, everybody promotes this hatred. So there is a hatred that is there. But for me, I'm here. I'm not the one who will go and बंदूक लेके जाएंगे या कुछ करेंगे वहां जाके. At the most, we in the IRSC also, what happened in Pahalgam is gruesome. It needs to be condemned, and we have condemned it with the Interreligious Solidarity Council. All of us, all really, including Hindus, everybody, Muslims, Christians, Jains, everybody. But uske jada, I think we'll have to think and work it out. We have to go back to a time. We are actually becoming like the old times. Go to war. No. Today we have weapons which are of mass destruction, which was not there in history, where you have localized war. Today things are changed, and therefore you cannot take the risk of this. So, I am seeing the Western world have economic wars, but also at the parallel same time you have wars going on everywhere. You have Ukraine war going on, you have the Gaza war going on, and then you have the Americans bombing the Houthis on one side, Yemen. तो ये सब हो रहा है, but वो कर रहा है क्योंकि वो economically is trying to save itself. USA is in a mess economically, if you ask me honestly. It can't survive. Whereas if you look at India and China has a business of over $115 billion.
Yes, Dr. Saab, if you like to get an idea about what is happening in Pakistan, I would like to share a little.
Please go ahead. Go ahead.
This holding the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance, I think, I don't know what the Indian decision makers had in mind, but it has been taken as a very, very serious thing in Pakistan. The reliance of the Pakistani lives and agriculture on it. So it is being looked at in a way that if this thing had existed in the minds of the Indian policymakers for some time, and I know it has existed in the minds of the Indian policymakers for quite some time.
Actually, twice resolutions were passed to do it.
Yes,
Only
yes.
now they have done it. Yeah, exactly.
Dr. Saab, even on individual level, I have talked to the Indian journalists, and even before this thing happened, they were talking about it, that we can do this, we can do that. So it was somewhere there. So now there is a growing feeling that this matter needs to be settled once and for all. I don't know how it can be achieved, but there is a feeling that because now it has entered the mainstream discussion. It is out in the open. So this must be settled, which is a
Can I
very
comment? Sorry.
dangerous thing. It has gone in Pakistani discourse at the moment. It is beyond the question of terrorism. What was happening in Kashmir and what was happening in KP and Balochistan, it is beyond that now. It is an existential matter. You understand? When
Yeah.
the existential threat arises, that you don't care about the consequences. So I think on the part of the Indians, it was a
Let me say like this.
yes, please.
This is an existentialist threat perceived by Pakistan. Do you think they will go to war, attack India on this?
I don't know
Or
what.
just like the Indians cannot do it, just
I
like
don't
the
know what
Indians
they,
can't attack us, we can't attack them because on both sides you have nuclear weapons. So ultimately, this was a treaty which was working so very well. The spirit behind it was cooperation. Somehow that has to be restored. Unless that is done, this will keep on coming up every now and then, every now
it
and
will,
then.
now
Yeah.
the treaty, in my view, does not really matter anymore because it has been put to such a question that I don't think even if it remains intact, it will carry any weight any further.
So
That's
what
what
will be the solution?
was
No,
What will be the solution?
I have a different opinion on this.
Yeah, please.
See, both India as well as Pakistan are basically agrarian societies.
Yes.
Pakistan economically right now is weak, but I think its major strength to feed its people is the agriculture, which
Yeah.
requires water. I'm of the opinion if suppose we had not even touched Indus Treaty at all, probably his nuclear thing talk would not have happened also. I'll be very honest. Because what is happening when you touch water, you touch the nerve of people, which pains. But that's a serious thing. If I had
Yeah.
alternate sources which I can go to, I think the same issue India is also facing on the Chinese end. The Brahmaputra, the water supply, which they were looking at doing it. So this is touching a raw nerve at this point of time. And that's where I always say that people have to sit and talk. And
That's
I
what
think
I
we have
say.
to move.
Exactly.
We have to move away from. And even unfortunately in Pakistan, a lot of the politicians just comment, just keep on commenting one after the other. That day I saw some interview where the interview asked, I think it was a UK interview, asked the minister about you were backing terrorism and all. He said, yeah, we've been doing it for the USA for so many years. Now what is
Yeah.
happening is while saying that, you are admitting to it, you were a part of it, you're also angering somebody else, which is a giant.
okay.
Not that this is a
Doctor
giant. So what is
Doctor
hello?
Saab will second me. डॉक्टर
Hmm.
साहब चलें ये बात उर्दू में कर लेते हैं. पंजाब में बेसिकली कत्ल किस बात पे होते हैं आप जानते हैं?
पानी पे होते हैं.
पानी छीनने पे. किसी ने किसी का खाला बंद कर दिया, पानी बंद कर दिया. वो आपको पता है
बिल्कुल
ना,
ऐसा ही
पर
है.
एकर्स के हिसाब से पानी एलोकेट होता है, इतनी देर चलेगा. आपका 10 एकड़ है तो 2 घंटे पानी आएगा. किसी ने आपका पानी रोका, उस बात पे कत्ल हो जाता. That is the mindset here. When you talk about it, I don't know. I don't want, but it's a very serious issue. Maybe it was not in the Indian imagination कि जी ये इसको हम करेंगे तो it will be just a little arm twisting. It's more than that in Pakistani minds now. That is a problem.
That I can understand, but
And
I
it will
my
not go away. It will not go away from the minds even if the troops go away from the borders.
but then who
This
provoked it? Who provoked it? Things were the way they were. Asim Munir saying that Hindus and
Hmm.
Muslims are two, and that was so unnecessary.
Yes.
with due respect, it was maybe unnecessary, but you cannot link these two things. But Indian narrative is, if you want to put it like this, it is. I don't want to say anything more about it, but I think it's a
Yeah,
very.
I would.
It is too remote to bring these two things together. One thing, sir, Vikram Sod Saab, he was the chief of RAW.
Yeah.
In a recent interview, with an Indian journalist. He said to the end of his talk, handshake will never take place. We will never be friends, and we will have to accept it and live with it forever. How do you see this statement?
Well, I would say that this statement is a mirror reflection of what Asim Munir said, that Hindus and Muslims can never be this, cannot be that. It's the same. So, what is good for the gander is good for the goose. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. So, why should we see it only on one side? Sood is a minor player, but here was a man who is the chief of the army staff. You are virtually the
Maybe
president of Pakistan.
what
Why do you
General
have to say this?
said is
No,
against
I
your
also felt the same when he commented, when
living.
the chief commented.
Yes,
He should have not. If politicians comment, it's a different thing. When an army chief comments, who's supposed to be a very
what
strong
does
man, and we already
it
know Pakistan.
translate it for me, Stanley
Huh,
sir? Translate,
uh,
you translate it
yeah,
for me. What do you understand from here?
yeah.
Here, this.
Okay,
What
then
does it mean
translate
to you? What is
in Hindi. What you understand?
no, no, I'm saying,
Hmm.
can you say in your own words what does this speech mean to you personally?
No, to me personally, it doesn't mean anything. The issue is not the speech meaning anything to the common man. I'll tell you, there are thousands of Pakistani, lakhs and lakhs of Pakistani and lakhs of Indians who may have not even heard the speech. Forget about meaning. Indians have no time to. There's so many speeches given. This speeches affect politicians who rule. See, this every word that is spoken is taken by political parties as a weapon. It is only when they pick up it becomes news. Otherwise, कोई मतलब ही नहीं है. There are so many things vulgar than this spoken up. Nobody says anything. It depends on
Okay,
who's saying it.
maybe you
Huh,
didn't like who was saying it, but we
huh.
read two nations theory in our textbooks. Everybody is reading it. It's a reality. Uh,
Yeah. So
what?
we
It's a
already know
bad
कि
reality.
Pakistan teaches that. Huh.
You see,
Yes,
Now I
Dr.
see.
Zafar, Hassan Zafar,
yes,
K.K. Aziz has written a book, The Murder of History.
yes,
Dr. Rubina Sehgal has written on this. Dr. Nayyar and Ahmad
Yeah.
Salim have published how poison is sowed in our curriculum, and they advise that this should be taken away. If you teach your children to hate someone, ultimately its results would be devastating for such a society.
that
So,
for that
therefore,
for
I would say that uh, rather than defending it, I would say let's take it out. Pakistan is Pakistan, India is India. We
well,
have
Dr.
we
Saab,
have 1.6 million Hindus, 1.6 population, which means 2.5 billion population of Pakistan is Hindu. How
mhm.
can we say that every Hindu should be, you know, alienated from the mainstream? This is not a wise statement, I'm saying.
My
It does no
position
good to Pakistan.
is clear on this, and you have read my thesis. You were the examiner of it.
Yeah.
I made this statement clear in my thesis that the project of the two nations theory was the creation of Pakistan. Pakistan
Yeah.
comes into being, project over, put it aside.
That's
So
right. The
that's how it
Pakistan has come into
happened.
being. For it, chalo, you had to argue that way. That's it. We are two states now, India
Yeah,
and Pakistan. That's all.
that's all.
And we have to learn to live in peace, one way
Yes.
or another. Sood not shaking hands with me. I don't want to shake hands with him either. But there are
Hmm.
many Indians who are good people, and we have to reach out for them and they to us. And ultimately, I think that's the way forward.
Yes. So let's
Yes.
conclude today's dialogue with Stanley Saab's remarks. Stanley Saab, over to you, sir.
I always, when I conduct major IIT programs, I want to share. I always make a group and ask people from different religions to sit down and write down. Can you remember in your school days, what did your parents tell you about other religions? majority of the answers, majority means I'm talking of 99% will say nothing. Nothing. So what I want to say is, I always tell them is, all this so-called thinking about hatred, even thinking, negative thinking, came in when you went beyond college. And if you really look at all this, where it comes from politicians, basically. It doesn't, at least in India, I'm talking the Indian viewpoint.
Yeah.
I'm not talking curriculum and other things. I'm talking of not Pakistan, but India. It comes from outside sources, outside your friend circle, outside everything. And I tell them, you react on somebody's words whom you're not even seen in your life, you're not met in your life. But here
Yes.
are people sitting whom you're met in your life,
Yeah.
who are with you, or eating with you, sharing with you, everything, and you can't talk to them and can't believe them. So therefore, I make them take a vow that we will not go by what social media, we go to the truth. And if
Truth.
there is a flaw, we look at how we have understanding to solve the problem.
Wow, wow.
Otherwise,
That's
we will all die together. And when we do interreligious programs, especially with the religious people, I see everybody quoting from the religious books. All say the same thing. Nahi, ek ko marega is equivalent to 1,000 killed. No, you cannot harm society. Everybody tells you. If you are a follower of your religion, then you better follow this principle of your religion. Otherwise, you are not. If you don't practice, you're not the religion you purport to be. So my thinking is, you follow your basic principles. Humanity is a basic principle across religions. Take anything in one form or the other. Don't go in the past on actuality, like even the Bible or the Torah or the Mahabharata. Or you have seen lot of wars in the past.
But
That
they're
is the way the life was then. Today it's not the same.
this subject. So, लेकिन आपकी बात से I recall something very interesting, or definition of a classic. What is a classic? Which
Okay.
everybody claims to have known without reading it.
Yes.
It's a classic.
Yes, absolutely
Very
right.
I
And
can
I have a
tell
lot of
you,
We can say
I have a lot of classics in my showcase.
yeah, there are so many people who praise my books. When I say, "Have you read it?" they haven't read. So
Yeah,
that's
Uh,
it. That's the classic.
but and
नहीं सर,
maybe
आज क्या है, आज आई कैन, व्हाट हैज हैपेंड इज माय, आई सेड, आज एडवांटेज हमको टेक्नोलॉजी ऐसा वापरना चाहिए कि आज डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज है, आज हिस्टोरियंस डॉक्यूमेंट्री पेश करता है. सपोज इस्लाम स्कॉलर विल टेल मी अबाउट इस्लाम, आई विल लिसन टू हिम. ये अपॉर्चुनिटी है मेरे को आज, यूट्यूब
yes,
में हो या वीडियो डॉक्यूमेंट्री.
इंडिया पाकिस्तान एक दूसरे के लिए क्लासिक्स बन गए हैं. We comment, we make up our mind about each other without having known each other, and this
That's
is an opportunity कि हम आपस में बात करते हैं, एक दूसरे की बात, एक दूसरे को समझने का मौका मिलता है. So I think this is very important. Thank you very much, Stanley Saab, for your time.
थैंक यू डॉक्टर असलम, थैंक यू डॉक्टर.
Thank you very much.
Really grateful for bringing this whole thing together.
Yeah, we all pray and hope कि there's no wars. We all together come in peace, go about
Yes.
our regular business, increase
what
our
I want.
economy,
Ji.
develop our country, do good to others.
Live happily. All the best.
Thank you very much. Take
to you
care.
and to your family.
Thank you. Good night. Take care.
I
Bye-bye.
hope the peace prevails and we move forward in a very nice way together. Khuda Hafiz.
Together. Yes, together.